Action! Activate! Dude.
Welcome aboard to the train that is Action Activate, the Power Rangers train of powerhouse power with Ranger morphing action. I am Gazbot, and with me as always,
Big Dawg Defender.
That's right, Big Dog. How's it going today, sir?
It's going. It's Saturday. I'm a little more tired than normal, but hey, what are you going to do on the weekend other than sleep and talk about Ranger stuff?
There you go. Works for me. So Ranger stuff that we're talking about would be Beast Morphers, Season 2.
Yes, sir.
Episode
7.
Yes, the title being Beast King Rampage.
Yes.
So this is one of the last few we're going to get before the hiatus. Usually it's 8. I heard from a little bird named Matt Kendall Clare, I think it was, that we might get 9. But either way, then we're going to have the normal hiatus, which might be even longer because of the circumstances that we're now in.
Yeah.
So we better really savor these.
Yeah.
So going in, our usual first impression things. Do you want to give like a quick little impression before we get into it?
Yeah. So I thought this episode was pretty good. I think the more I think about it, this is going to be one of those that I might like it better at the end versus the beginning of the review, which I know happens a lot where we very rarely, unless it's like an amazing episode, we're like super consistent. It either brings it up a little bit or down a little bit, depending on how deep we dive. The one thing I will say is this episode's pacing is the most unique of an episode we've seen of Beast Morphers.
I think I agree with that. I don't know if it's the most unique because we've had a couple Beast Morphers that don't do the exact formula like you always see. So it does it well. It does it interestingly. I'd have to like rewatch them all to know if it's the absolute best. My general impression though is like it was good. You know, it was fine. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. And like you, I think once we go over it, I'm gonna like it or dislike it more. You know.
I think I'm gonna like it more by the end.
I don't think I'll like it more. I think I could possibly like it less. But hey, maybe I'll be pleasantly surprised and you'll point out some things that convince me otherwise.
True.
And again, I'm coming at
fresh.
Yeah, I'm coming. Well, I mean, it was out this morning. I watched it like 10 minutes before we're recording this. So, you know.
I watched it a minute into you calling me for the show.
Wait, what?
The reason I didn't answer your initial call is because I was finishing the last minute.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you're even closer to having just seen it than I am. Okay, that's funny.
It's not a competition, but if it is, I won.
You absolutely won the procrastination competition. Yes, Mighty Morphin procrastinating Rangers. I don't know.
Might be Morphin procrastination.
Mighty Malaise procrastination Rangers.
I prefer might be Morphin.
Yeah, but malaise is another kind of like lazy, like apathetic.
You know, we're not trying to bust out the dictionary. It's just
you know why? Because words have no meaning on a planet.
On a planet under the Cape of War.
Yeah.
So let's dive into it, and by that I mean literally dive into it. We're in the pointy dimension of cyber evil.
Yes.
And Scrozzle is getting to his point about a dart that he's got.
Hold on, let me stop you. Let me stop you right here. Here's what I think is happening. The last review we did, you made a pun, and you blindsided me. And I had to recover, and it took a little while, and everybody had a good laugh. I'm worried now that you're like, oh, I'm gonna pun as much as I can and really, you know, stick it in. And this was a little one where you're talking about point and dart, but I feel it coming already. And I just want to say I don't want that.
Here's what I'm gonna say.
Okay.
Are you right? No. Are you wrong? No.
What does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean?
We'll have to find out. So I was told by one of our fans who will remain anonymous outside, who's a fan of the show, that they too thought that my pun last week was both legendary and incredibad at the same time.
Yeah, that's accurate.
Not their exact words, but definitely mine embellishing a bit. And I'm not going to force any puns. if there's one thing we've learned, not only from Action Activate, but from Beast Morphers itself, it's that you got to work as a team to get success. You can't just go in, guns blazing, even though guns are the way they win every fight. You can't go in guns blazing and expect success. So just like with me dragging this on right now, there is no pun. But man, is it fun seeing you squirm anticipating one that's not even there right now. Oh, I love it! I love it! I love it!
This is terrible. Because now, even if you're not doing it, you have the ability to.
You're just like,
yeah. Yeah, because I was waiting. I can't let my guard down. I can't just relax and have a conversation now because I'm like, where's it? He's setting me up. Here it comes. Here it comes. Nothing? Good. Why? Okay, Power Rangers. So anyway.
As we were saying, this episode, Skrulls was working on a dart, which at first I thought was a mini missile.
Me too.
Because of the weird lighting of it.
Yeah.
And then Evox burst through out of nowhere. Skrulls, how's our plan going? By the way, I know you didn't ask. Here's how our whole plan went. And then he explains every step of the plan from the previous episode. So this is actually a decent episode to jump in if you miss the last couple and you're like, hey, I don't mind spoilers. I just want to be current and not have a fear of missing out.
That's true. Well, two things real quick. One thing Scrozzle says is like when he's like, oh, what would anyone do without me? Which is true. Because everything is dependent on him. Like Blazing Roxy wouldn't exist. The Tronic, everything. He's a very undervalued asset there. But anyway, you're right about the flashback. And for half a second, I thought, is this going to be a clip show again? And it wasn't. But what's weird is that I agree with what you said. But he's like, oh, our plan is working perfectly. First, we had to get Nate, the Gold Ranger, to program a bunch of stuff. And that went well. So anyway, like that, what? No second, no third, just that. And it's true, but just the way he set it up, it seemed like it was going to be like a 3-part plan that he was going to lay out. So then he just says like, "Oh, we're going to use this dart to capture their new weapon." And Blazing Roxy like, "What are you talking about? What new weapon?"
Yeah. So that part, I was like, "Oh, do they have a mole in Beast Morphers? That's going to really bum me out."
A what? Oh, yeah. No, I didn't.
Yeah, because I'm like, how does he know?
They do have a mole in Beast Morphers. The mayor.
What I meant was somebody outside of the mayor that's feeding information directly to Evox and doesn't know about the mayor.
That wouldn't. I mean, sure, but it's completely unnecessary.
I was thinking differently. So,
well, the mayor, in case for people that didn't know, Evox turns back into the mayor, and I have it on screen now. He laughs maniacally.
Oh, dude!
And just
the face acting.
Yeah. The mayor is so much more fun. The actor, now that the actor gets to play an evil version of the mayor, it's so much more fun.
So also, I know we've talked about this very briefly in the past. This episode hit me a little bit differently because their whole plan is around malware.
Oh, and can you say the name of the place you work, or can you not?
Yeah, it's fine. I work in the cybersecurity field, so I'm not an expert on malware by any means. I know a bit more than I did when I started my current job 3 years ago. So they're like, we got this dart, it's full of malware, it's going to infect their thing and take it over. Totally reasonable.
Yeah.
So far, on board. So we fast forward to the base, and
the general shows up again.
I hate the general so much.
I thought he got a little bit redeemed when he showed that he cared about his kids, and
it just showed it went from, oh, I thought you thought he was terrible. No, he just went to baseline totally normal.
Okay. I certainly don't like him, but I don't hate him the way you do, which I think is true of a lot of characters. You have a lot more hate in your heart than I do, I think.
As of right now, for the good guys, he's probably the one I hate the most.
The most. Most people would say he's my least favorite, or I don't like him. He's the one I hate the most, implying that you hate many, but he is the most hated.
Here's what happened. Here's just kind of a baseline.
Yeah.
Here was me at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
Here was Ravi. Ravi dipped. Ravi dipped a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then they brought Ravi up, and now he is above the baseline. Yeah. I actually kind of like Ravi
I agree. They really brought him up.
Yes, so there. Now, we got the mayor, or not the mayor, the general. Definitely did not like him.
Right.
Then he came up a little bit, still below the baseline. So even with the counterbalancing of positives, negatives.
Sure. That's all fine, but you still are saying you hate him the most. Who else do you hate?
I'm not a huge fan of Commander.
Okay. Who else do you hate? But again, saying I'm not a huge fan to me isn't the same as saying I hate them.
Oh, there's another character I hate that I'll touch upon in the next 5 minutes.
Okay.
Or hated, past tense.
Okay. So the general who you hate the most has come in and said the mayor and I have been working on a top secret project. Which the commander is like, what? I had no idea about this. That's weird. Now, granted, the general is above her, but it still does seem odd that there'd be a project she wasn't even aware was happening.
Yeah.
And so he's like, well, I'll show you a sneak preview because the mayor's running late. He puts on a video. This got me. I didn't see it coming. I thought he'd put on the video and it would be a sneak peek of the Zord or whatever, but it's him and Ben and Betty doing like karate practice, and I liked this joke. It went on a little too long. I don't know how to unplug it, but the stuff they were doing on the screen was good, and it was fast forwarded hijinks, especially. And I'm putting these on the screen for everyone else to see. There's a point where, they try to cover it up, but they're too short and they can't. They're doing good, panicky acting. But there's a point. I don't know if this is the actress who plays Betty or not. I assume it's a stunt actress, but she does a thing where there's like a punching bag, and she like goes to hit it, and it like hits her face, and she like
does like
flips
a back
backwards.
Handspring, yeah.
Yeah, but like lands on her head. Like the screen here. Let me make so everyone can see the screen bigger. Like she like kind of flips over on her head, like almost like a somersault on her head. Like she doesn't use her hands. Her head seemingly touches the ground, and then she flops. It's incredibly well done, and it's so funny to say this because it looks ridiculously cartoony, which I normally complain about, but it's not CGI. It is something that a human being could and did do. Yes. So it's ridiculous, but it's ridiculous like Charlie Chaplin or Jim Carrey or, it's like a
Three
thing.
Stooges.
Right. It's a thing that a comedic actor can make happen, and theoretically a foolish human in the world, this could actually happen to them. It's just an extreme example. So I liked it a lot, and it didn't, at no point did they turn into balloons and fly around the room or, nothing like that. It was just, it was good. I liked it. So that less the joke of, oh, we can't get this off, and more what they were doing on the screen, I thought was very good.
Okay. I thought it was all right. I agree that it went on too long.
Yeah.
And then the one thing I did like, though, is at the end, Ben's like, technology, huh? Which goes to the point of me every week. I'm like, you guys are really smart, and I'm really advocating for you guys. And then stuff like this happens. I'm like,
well, yes, but to be fair, the general, is the one who messed it up. And he said, there's something wrong with this camera, and Ben and Betty were just going along with it because they felt embarrassed.
Yeah, General, I hate the most.
That's his name, too, because I can't remember his name.
I know, I don't either.
But they're practicing, and while this is happening, Ravi, in a very TJ-like move, says, well, practice makes perfect, guys, encouraging them, and instead of laughing at them not being good, is like, hey, that's, you all got to start somewhere.
No, they all laughed at them for not being good.
I have it on screen right now. Ravi's kind of like shrugging, kind of uncomfortably smiling, but he's like, practice makes perfect, guys. He did not make fun of them. He was sort of like, well, encouraging.
I guess. I'm neutral on it. It didn't affect me, and I didn't totally remember it until you re-brought it up.
Well, he at least gave lip service to being nice. He may or may not have believed it, but he at least,
That's fair. Nothing against it. I just...
Okay. Well, it stuck out to me because it's a Blue Ranger being nice to the comedy duo. Fair. Like TJ and In Space. So I'm like, oh, I like this.
TJ may be wearing blue, but he's red in his heart.
Oh, believe me. Yes. Yeah. He let Andros be the Red Ranger because whatever, he owns the ship, but like
he knows that he is humble enough that he's willing to take orders from somebody that is far inferior.
Yes, a true leader does what is necessary for the team, not for himself.
We can talk about TJ all day, guys. We might with this hiatus. Who knows? But so then
yes,
I was gonna say. So then he's like, "All right, this video didn't work. Let's do it live. Yeah. Let's bring in this team." Mayor Evox shows up. Love Mayor Evox, by the way.
Yep.
And then it's like, "Hey, here's who we hired to make this order." Boom! Evil girl Megan is back.
Yeah, which I love. Why not bring it back?
I loved it. Yeah. I literally like fist pumped. I was like, yeah!
When he said like, oh, including a designer that used to work here, I'm like, oh, it's gonna be that girl Megan.
Yep.
Yeah.
Here's the thing that threw me for a loop.
Okay.
She came in, and I was expecting full pedal to the metal, just worst person on Coral Bay, just like hey guys,
Like, remember when you kicked me to the side? Well, now I'm your boss, like that kind of thing.
Yes, and
Right.
she came in, and you just saw the guilt-ridden face of like, I know I did you guys real dirty a while back, and now you didn't expect me, did you? Woo-wee.
I don't know. I definitely didn't expect what you expect, where she'd come in crazy, but I didn't expect her to be so repentant so quickly. I thought maybe she'd be a little standoffish and awkward, and then it would turn into them working. Like I definitely expected a redemption arc, but I didn't think it would start immediately. Like she's like, I'm the worst.
Yeah.
Sorry. Like
Yeah,
yeah.
that was the part that threw me. But at the same time, like she was going to be the one I mentioned. I used to hate her more than anybody associated with Grid Battle Force.
Well, that's fair, but like she was only in what 1 or 2 episodes, and she was designed. Okay, 1 episode, and she was designed to be if not evil character, certainly not a good character.
Yeah.
So saying that you like when you're like I hate him the most, speaking about the general, I feel like you have to compare him to at least recurring characters or regular cast members, because otherwise, yeah, there's people that have showed up or monsters that have showed up that they're my least favorite in that 1 episode, but I'm not going to judge them against someone that's in every.
No. Like I'm just judging her against anybody that we've seen that works for Grid Battle Force. Like,
okay.
If we saw the guy last week who kept getting fired.
I like that guy.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like, if he was really bad, I'd say, oh, I really didn't like him. But no, I did like him. Like, with her, she was in that 1 episode, but she had such an impact because I'm like, God, she's just terrible.
Yeah, well, and to your point, everybody's unhappy to see her, especially Nate and Zoe, who she like blackmailed.
Dude, Nate, the thing I love and hate about Nate's character is he is very, like, one direction. If he loves or hates something, he's all for it and will not waver until he absolutely has to.
I only love that about Nate, and I love Abraham Rodriguez. I love like he has this angry face where it's like because he's like the smart, like scientist guy. He's not like a hot-headed, Red Ranger or Black Ranger or whatever. So he's furious and indignant, but he's like. He always shows his teeth like, oh, I hate her, but he's like trying to stay composed, but he's like,
yeah,
she blackmailed us, and I love that. I love it.
Dude, I love it. I love that he gets to play evil Ranger sometimes, or like just evil characters, and that's my other thing is it's like, oh, Nate's mad because like last episode he's like, how could you possibly let this go wrong? You're fired. And this one it's like, you tried to sabotage. I'm not going to bring up my secret relationship, but you tried to sabotage it, and I hate you.
No, I love it. He's a passionate man. I mean, I dig it.
Yeah, that part was great. Her instant apology, like, "Hey,
right."
Sorry.
But I'm fine that they didn't go, sure, water under the bridge, because they're good guys in redemption, all that.
Oh,
but like,
yeah.
She said she's sorry, but also from their point of view, she thinks like, and we know this, because we watched the episode. She legitimately wanted to give back and help, and she had an opportunity, so she took it. But from their point of view, it's like, what is this secret plan that you did behind our back? So it's like not exactly making them like her more. I thought it was cool that the actress that plays Megan, and this is like a rare thing, she is like, I'm going to deploy the Beast X Megazord. She gets to wear the wrist gauntlet and hold up the key and do it. When like I can't even, maybe 1 or 2 other times in the entire history of the series has a non-ranger been able to do a ranger type move where she's like Beast X Megazord ready. Like I'm sure this isn't the very first time, but I just felt really happy for this actress. Like I think about myself. Like if I was on the show and I was in like one bit part and they're like, by the way, you get to fire the blaster or you get to hold the morpher, be like, oh, really? Like like how much better is it? So good for her.
Yeah, that part I thought was really cool. But that was the other thing. It's like she already comes in. She's like, God, I know you guys are mad at me. By the way, I made this kick butt Megazord, and here it is. Boom!
Yeah.
It's just like the biggest metaphorical mic drop in the whole
series.
Yeah.
It was pretty awesome. But I love it. I mean, they were already mad at her, so what difference does it make at that point,
So, initial impressions of the Zord, what do you think?
I don't like the thing around his neck that's like it's his mane. Yeah. It kind of looks like a flower. What it really made me think of was Ninja Steel.
Same. Yeah. I was gonna bring that up. It looked like one of the ninja
power stars.
Yeah, that they had. Yeah. And I honestly looked. I'm like, I want to look to see A, if it was American only, and B, if it was like based on some toys from Ninja Steel, because it reminds me of like the later toy that they had in Ninja Steel that was like almost the same exact colors.
I
and
know
there was a lion one.
Wait, you think that they're I mean, we could have looked this up ahead of time, we didn't, and I'm sure people know this, but you think
Yeah.
there's a chance that this Beast X Megazord, the blue line we're looking at, is American only?
I don't know if it is. If it is,
I don't know. I haven't looked into it at all. I would bet $1 million it is not.
wow. First
Because,
of all, that's a lot of money to just
well,
throw around.
I have $1
Bet
million over here, but I can't show it to you right now. No, I mean, obviously there's a margin for error, but I would like 99.9% I'd be shocked, because if it was just like the cannon or one shot real quick, then maybe, but like they have a CGI model, they have an actual model, and it interacts with CGI and actual suit actors, and then they have the bow and all this. So like the bow could be American only, sure, fine. But they like this whole episode has tons of stuff. They even have it fighting Blaze's Zord later on. So that's a lot of money to put in. And yeah, Hasbro isn't as cheap as Saban was, but that's all that just to sell another mold of a toy that they could just put out and not have in the episode, and just, like they always do, put out stuff that wasn't actually in the episode.
I don't know, man. This season, everything they've put out toy-wise has all been in or will be in the show. They aren't doing as much of the gimmicky, like,
Right.
hey, here's a random thing that looks cool. Like, they haven't done that in a while.
But they could, and it wouldn't be the end of the world. Like, my take on that is, if you put out everything in the show and then you put it out extra, that's fine. If you don't put out something from the show and then you put out a fake Zord or whatever, that's irritating. But there's no way this is American only. If this is American only, the comments are going to crucify me, because they're going to be like, no, it is stupid. Because I'm so sure it's not. I'm so sure it's not. It would take.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
If there is a slight chance you're wrong,
yeah,
I need you to clip you saying, like, I bet $1 million, I'm 99% sure, and then after that just put screenshots of the comments refuting you.
Okay, but if I'm right, then you could be like, hey, I think maybe this isn't, which won't be as dramatic, so I won't. Never mind.
See, it's a win-win for me.
It is win-win. There's no real. Because if you're wrong, it's like,
or
yeah.
you look.
Because you're like, I'm uncertain, and I'm like, I'm sure. I'm like the mayor from Powerpuff Girls, like just banging on my desk. Girls.
So, initial impressions of the Zord. Back to on topic.
Yes.
I don't love the lion design right away.
Me either. I do think if it didn't have that ninja star looking head, it would have been a lot better. I like the black and blue.
Yeah, if it would look like almost like a serrated saw blade or something, I think it has the potential to look way cooler.
I agree.
But I also understand. Actually, no, that my idea still works for the other thing. Never mind. I'm right.
I imagine as we later learn that the lion turned. That's another reason why I don't think it's American.
Quit jumping ahead so much. Build up some.
All right.
You've brought up 4 things. I'm like, I really wish you would have waited for us to knowledge drop it.
I assume people have seen the episode if they're watching the review.
It's fine. You like going in chronological order. So we see the Zord.
But you're asking me what I think of it, and I got opinions about things later.
We see the Zord. Yeah. It looks pretty cool. Blazing Rocks, you're like, oh, I wonder how we know it's here. Time to throw a dart.
Yeah.
Throws the dart at it. Here's the part that I do like.
Yes.
It instantly infects it. We get that with the malware. And Nate, when he's watching, was like, hey, that thing's glowing.
Yes.
They never bring that up when, like, something like this happens in the show. Nobody goes, hey, that looks funny, and here's why.
Right.
They're always like, why is Nate acting so weird? 20 minutes later, it's like, oh, you got possessed. Got it. Sorry.
But that's the problem.
Like, something's off.
Nate got possessed. He's the smart one. So Nate, with his smart anger, is like, I'm looking for something to point out that she did wrong already, and there it is. Ha ha ha!
So that happens instantly. She looks dumb because it's like, I told him to stand down. He's not standing down. Something bad happened. And then he's like, yeah, it got infected with malware, I bet. And I'm just really smart and I'm guessing it. Almost like insider knowledge. He's like so specific.
Well, but he also says to her, did you install a firewall to protect it? Which, my limited computer understanding, I do know that's a thing. It doesn't mean necessarily that it wouldn't get infected, but it's like he jumped right to that, and it's weird that she wouldn't have, because that seems like a really basic thing. So it's weird that she didn't, and it's weird that he thought that. I would think, like, she did install a firewall, but it wasn't good enough, because Evox is this super, demon virus from another dimension. How could she stop it?
I need a Knowledge Zone one-shot really quick.
All right, getting ready. Knowledge Zone, go.
Hey guys, so we haven't had one of these in a while. It's been too long. Love thinking of your beautiful faces. So, quick little tip for your own cybersecurity. I'm not saying firewalls are bad. Firewalls are what have been used for years and years and years as part of people's cybersecurity. It's great. I'm going to put it into Power Ranger terms, though. If you have your house and that's your computer and you want to protect it, you build a wall around it, like a firewall, literally. If you have putties coming up to that wall, you're doing all right. If you have Tronics going up to that wall, they might eventually get in with their little pointy things, but it'll happen eventually. So far, you're doing all right. If you have Tangas fly over the wall and get on top of your house, that doesn't work. Firewalls are for certain kind of attacks. What you need is an antivirus or anti-malware software that protects your house completely, like a force field. That's what I would say for in terms of your own personal protection. So for this, they're using old terms that everybody knows. I get it. For you protecting your computer, you should get an anti-malware removal product. There's free ones on the internet. I know Malwarebytes has one that's pretty good, and they do have anti-malware and antivirus as well. There's other antivirus on the market. There's a bunch of different stuff. Do your own research, see what works for you, but that's what I would recommend because it's free to scan and they have their own technology. But moral of the story, firewall doesn't do it all. You need other stuff because bad guys like Evox are more sophisticated now. So that's the problem I had with this scene in the show, but I get it because it's a kid show and people know what firewalls are, kind of.
That's fine, and that was a good knowledge zone. I do feel like we should have a full disclosure footnote to that, though.
Here's the thing. Yes, I work for Malwarebytes.
There you go. Thank you.
But I've said this to many people, Gazbot included, taking my inherent bias that they are my job. After doing my own research before I even got the job, I realized they're one of the best, if not the best, on the market when it comes to this specifically. They're one of the only companies that offer a free product that scans and cleans your computer, but you need some kind of proactive protection from either them or somebody else.
Yeah, it's become
We're
a little
going
bit
down a weird rabbit hole. Anyways,
I just wanted, because you were recommending it, I wanted people the disclosure that you work for them.
I know.
Okay.
Anyways, went down a rabbit hole again. So here's the thing.
Yeah.
They say, oh, you didn't put a firewall. Naked's furious again. Love it. Then out of nowhere, it's like the Red Ranger just left the room and is like, hey guys, I'm in the Racer Sword ready to fight immediately.
No, that's not what happened. The commander says, Devin, you take the Racer Sword and go handle this while we try to figure out what's going on here. So
Want to know why I forgot it?
Because you hate the commander so much, you blacked out at her voice, like in a rage.
The commander and the general were in the same scene. I ignored most of what they said. And I focused on the action.
This is why you'll never be a Power Ranger. You have your two commanding officers there. And
that was the meanest thing you've ever said to me.
This is why you'll never be a Power Ranger that works for Grid Battle Force. How about that?
That's fine.
Because you have your
I'll work for Lightspeed.
You have your two commanding officers, and you're just like, oh, these two. And then you're like, wait, what's happening? Who are we fighting?
If there's one thing I've learned, it's that as long as I listen to Nate and Steele, I'd probably still have a job there. As long as I'm on Nate's good side, I wouldn't lose a job.
That's okay. That might be true, but you are right.
He seems to be the judge, jury, and executioner on people's employment.
Well, there's a little bit of a nepotism thing there because the commander is his mom, so maybe
No, I said Nate, not Ravi.
Oh right. Oh yeah. Well, Nate's smart and mean, so
Nate
right.
and Steele both have gone, you know what? This person's terrible at their job. They're fired. The commander's like,
they do give some proof, evidence, data to back it up, though. It's not completely feeling based.
Yeah, I'll be out there, helping out Ben and Betty. We're going to be a trio. We're going to get stuff done. I'm going to use their technological skills and my personal big dog prowess.
Anyway, Devin is in the Racer Sword, and he's going to intercept the lion. And I thought it was cool that he goes to cheetah mode, which I didn't think of it because he so hardly ever uses it. And so the two of them are fighting like cats, which is cool. But then, for kind of no reason, he goes to the battle mode, and then he's doing terrible, and he's trying to hang on to the line. He's like, wow, this is crazy. And I'm like, why did he switch? And once he switched and it wasn't going well, why didn't he just immediately turn back into the cheetah or the car? Like, I didn't quite get that strategy. I felt like it was just an excuse to be like, like kind of a funny thing. But that's going on. We cut back to Grid Battle Force, and now what's her name? Megan is like, I don't understand how it got infected. It was fine on my, simulations, and Nate's like, firewalls, and she's like, well, isn't there a thing about malware bites? And he's like, firewalls. But they do see then that whatever she thinks it was safe from, it got infected with a dart directly, and they watch the video, and so now they're like, okay, well, it's not 100% your fault, but still, malware bites.
Here's the other thing. Nate's like, you're dead to us. I hate you. We're going to make a satellite and we're going to get this back. And then he goes off and she's like, can you guys hold up? He's like, no, you're wrong and I hate you. I have to clean up your messes.
Yeah.
And then he leaves and she's like, Zoe, please. She's like, no, I love Nate and I'm not listening to you.
She wasn't. That's mostly correct. She wasn't as dismissive as Nate was. Nate was like, I'm not listening to you, and storms off. Zoe sort of talked to her and she's like, I don't know how we could trust you after what you did, and kind of like actually explains herself a little bit and is a little more civil.
I was getting there.
Oh, were you? That's not what you said.
Her knee-jerk, hers was declining. Her knee-jerk thing is like, I'm supporting Nate because he's my secret boyfriend. And then she's like, rational reason. She's like, all right, well, like, we're still a little butthurt that you were mean to us and you did that stuff. And she's like, I know, I get it. I'm trying to help. But
just please believe that I've changed, she says.
Yeah, he's not as smart as you think he is right now. He's definitely going to mess up this plan. And she's like, well, I'm still going anyway, but you make some valid points. I'll keep it in mind. And then, like, leaves.
Well, but what I do like, though, is that it didn't turn out that Nate is, like, dumb or had a stupid plan. It's that because she knows – well, I liked and didn't like this because, again, I have to step forward to make my point here. We find out that there's a battle mode. And because of that, it acts differently, and he triggers the battle mode. So she knows, because she built it, what he's planning – won't work because of this battle mode. But she could have said to Zoe, hey, there's a battle mode, at least tell him that there's a battle mode. She could have just said that, like, it'll trigger the battle mode, because she knew what was going to happen. She wasn't like, it's a bad plan, something might go wrong. She knows exactly what's going to happen. And so that always annoys me, not just in this show, but in lots of shows where it's like, oh, I need to tell them something. I need to say, we don't want to hear you. Oh, no, but I just need to tell you something. And all I have to say is, like, press the blue button. Just yell, press the blue button. They will hear you, whether they want to or not,
In her defense, she said it won't work. She didn't have to go into detail. She just was flat out was like, it's not going to work.
No, but if she said, once she realized they weren't listening, and now at this point when Zoe's talking to her, just saying, look, Zoe, make sure he knows there's a battle mode. There's the defense mechanism that'll go into battle mode. Just tell him that, or keep that in mind. Like, then she could have got there and been like, hey, by the way, would your plan be affected if it has a defensive battle mode? There you go. Yes, it would. Let me readjust. Now it's fixed. You know what I mean? So, like, it always seems like these characters, not just in this show, but in others, have to have this heart-to-heart and, like, really explain themselves. Just say the one sentence that they need to know. Just yell it at them. Make them hear it. You can't not have that information in your head then. You know what I mean?
It did not bother me nearly as much as it bothers you. Mostly because I loved that Nate was proven wrong after all these episodes where I'm like, why is Nate written in as so smart where he builds things in like 4 minutes? He built this in 4 minutes and it failed in 1.
I'm fine that he failed. I'm fine with all that. It's a trope I don't like. Again, this isn't a Power Rangers complaint. It's just like a writing complaint.
We're all just venting about things outside of the show today.
It's true. And we're a half hour in, and we're like a third of the way through the episode.
This is Action Activate Honesty Hour.
Yeah, apparently.
Coming at you on April 11th. All right, so
Ravi and Steel.
Let's see.
Ravi and Steel show up at the battle site with the satellite gun. And there's a cool shot of them looking very small while the Zords are fighting.
Doesn't Steel have a good pun before they leave the base?
I don't have.
Write it down.
I don't see it here. I don't see it here.
Must have been later.
Well, they get there, and before they're able to use it, Cruz is like, we need to hold the thing still. So at this point,
time out. Sorry. We have to back up a sec. Yeah. I love when the Lion Zord gets infected. Like, everybody's ragging on Megan. They're like, what are you doing? And then Mayor Evox, just to blend in, was like, I'm very disappointed in you, Megan.
Yeah.
I love that part. And I love that she isn't evil because she's just like, oh, man, another person disappointed me. As opposed to like, what do you mean? This was your whole plan all along? He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm Mayor Evox.
Well, I think, no, that's plausible deniability for his cover because he's disappointed that she failed to do a
No,
good job.
that's the part I love. Is
Technically.
every episode, Mayor Evox is like getting up there with Steel as one of my
He's
favorite
pretty great.
characters.
He is pretty great.
Because he's just like, yeah, what are you guys doing? I kept like
I
with the
feel
art
like this
episode,
is-
like there's a monster here.
They cast this actor to be Mayor Evox. Like his regular mayor is fine, whatever. But they were like, they didn't cast him as the mayor, and then he became Mayor Evox. They said, let's see your evil, duplicitous mayor, and then went, okay, that's good. Then the other stuff is fine. Like that's, I think that's.
Give us 5 months, we're gonna tell you a real fun fact.
Yeah. So in an effort to try to hold the Lion Zord still, or the ex-King Beast, whatever, the Lion Zord, he's riding it again, which, again, I don't know why that's their go-to, but whatever. So then Steel blasts it with the satellite, and it hits it, but it turns it into the battle mode. And then it's like, well, how did this happen? I don't understand. And Nate's like, oh, man, this is crazy. And then Zoe's like, look, I think we need Megan's help. And Nate's like, I don't trust her. She's a jerk. Yeah, but she knows the Beast X King Zord, otherwise known as the Lion Zord, better than anyone. And so he's like, fine, I guess as a ranger, I have to accept help. And, so he goes and talks to her. And she said, this kind of annoyed me. She says, oh, well, it has a defense mechanism, so if you try to get in, it automatically switches to Battloid mode, goes on to defense. And he's like, wow, what an ingenious defense. That's so great. But it's like, yeah, but you put in this super ingenious advanced defense that the other Zords don't have and not a firewall or a Malwarebytes? And it's just like being. I feel like Nate should have been like, "That's great, but why didn't you do the basic stuff too?" Like it just. I don't know. It's weird. But whatever. But they're making up, and it's fine.
Timeout.
Yeah.
What do you think of the battle mode?
I like it.
I love it.
Okay. I like it.
I really, really like it, especially fighting the Racer Zord battle mode makes me really want both. I'm not gonna lie to you.
As far as just straight design, I prefer the Racer Zord. I just think it's a cooler robot. But I do like it. What I like, well, again, I'd have to get ahead of ourselves to talk about. We'll get there. I like it more by the end of the episode. How about that?
Got it.
But base design, I like it, but I like the Racer Zord better. But I like the Racer Zord a lot. Like that, I really enjoy that. But as you've talked about before, I like cohesive designs a lot, and the Lion Zord Beast X Zord is cohesive, but the Racer Zord just really works for me as opposed to being like a hodgepodge of things slapped together.
Yeah.
So Nate says, "Hey, I've been working on something," because they have to inject it directly. They can't fire a beam at it. That's why they.
Yeah, it's like they had a dart. We'll one up them.
Arrow.
With an arrow.
Yes, and so we see the bow that he's been working on, and it has Jackrabbit and Gorilla DNA, but they have to put some Lion DNA in it, so they're going to work on that while the battle rages on. Devin's running out of Morphex. We cut back. They put in the Lion DNA. Boom! It gets a cool lion head on the tip of it. Impressively, Nate holds it up and doesn't immediately point it at other people in the room.
I know, that's what I was thinking too. I was like, can someone other than Nate have this bow for this final attack? Like, he can't be trusted with anything, apparently.
But he did restrain himself this time. We cut back to
God.
the fight between the Beast King X Lion. I'm just going to keep calling it a Lion Zord. I keep getting it wrong. And so they show up in their car, but then Blaze and Roxy with a bunch of Tronics. So Steel and Ravi and Zoe are like, okay, we'll handle him. Nate, you go fire the arrow that you've been dying to shoot at somebody's face.
But no one morphs.
Yes, that was interesting. The whole fight, pretty much, no one morphs.
The entire fight, except for the very end,
right at
was
the end.
unmorphed.
Yeah, right at the end. And it looked like, obviously, American stunt people, but it looked like a lot of the actors doing stuff too. I enjoyed this fight. It wasn't the best fight of the whole season, or the whole series rather, but it was very, very good. It was one of the top
got
ones.
Way more bonus points for being unmorphed.
I agree 100%. And you get a lot of cool American footage. You have Steel fighting Blaze, and you have Roxy fighting Zoe. And the actress, I don't know how much is the stunt actress versus Jacqueline Sislowski, but there's a lot of awesome kicks and stuff, and it looks
I think that was all her.
It looks like it's her, and I know she was training a lot. Like when she got cast, there was a lot of behind-the-scenes videos of her training with other Rangers and stuff, and really getting into
and Chris Cantata Force.
Yes. So I think by the end of because we saw that a long time ago, but that would line up with this is when she was filming, So I think she got really into it. Not to disparage the others, because I think they all do decent. And I think Abraham Rodriguez also stepped up. It's a thing where you could see they must have started with whatever level they had, and by the end of season 1 going into season 2, they're like, okay, we want to show off what we could do. And I
Yep.
kind of feel like that's what this scene was, which was cool.
One thing we missed when they got their bow all set up,
Mm-hmm.
Steel coming in with the puns, man. Love him.
What did he say? I don't remember.
He's like, it was something with Bane in it.
Oh, you're right. Hold on, let me back up. I might have had that on the screen because I have the subtitles on. Clang, boom. Amazing! It's time for the main event. That's what it was.
Yep, there's
See-
that pun for
See,
the episode.
he knows how to use puns, unlike a certain big dog I know. Anyway, so the fight rages on.
You have to look at me for the glare. There you go. There's the thumbnail.
So, and Ravi is having his fight, and he's using strength primarily, just kind of brute forcing his way through, which makes sense because the whole gorilla thing. He has a piece of siding or a bumper or something he's fighting everyone with, which again is
like wood or something. I can't
Where did
tell.
it come from? But I don't care. That's fine. He didn't pull it out of the wall. But what bothers me is halfway through the fight, there's a bunch of Tronics standing on a tarp, and he pulls the tarp and they fall, which is fine. But why is there a tarp?
It was very Return of the Jedi, unfortunately.
In what way?
They started to jump before he pulled it.
Oh, how is that Return of the Jedi?
You don't know the scene from Return of the Jedi?
It's with the Luke kicking the guy in the face?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but that's not a jump. That's a... Okay, whatever.
A pre-reaction.
Okay, well, that happens in all action and whatever. That's not what bothered me. What bothered me was that
I'm just trying to offend you for two of your loves, Power Rangers and Star Wars. I'm like, yeah, look at this flop and fallacy that they made. You're like, no, it happens all the time. It's not just specific to them. Don't try to make it about them.
That's accurate. You were saying it as a joke, but what you're saying is truth. Thank you. No, but the tarp bothered me because it's like a tarp with like 3 leaves on it, and like, it's just, what is it doing there? I understand, like, it's garbage, I guess, but they're in a forest. What?
I think it's theoretically there for when they rake leaves, you bundle them up in little tarps and get rid of them.
I'm going to give you a Ninja Steel point for that.
Thank
sorry,
you.
You lost
Ninja
it
Steel.
for sneezing on air. No, you lost it.
But I sneezed into the crux of my elbow.
No,
like
you went like this and didn't actually hit it, and you didn't.
Yeah, I did.
You still did it on mic.
I was off camera. What am I supposed to do? Words have no meaning on a Planet of the Capable. Yeah, mine doesn't mute like yours. I have to flip a little button that I have to look at on here every time, and it's very cumbersome.
Sad. Okay. So anyway, damn, we were running really late.
These are more comfortable, so joke's on you.
I don't have a wire. All right, so Nate's like, I need a clear shot, a great shot of Nate, like his.
Dude, the way he pulled this bow was so dainty, and I hated it.
I don't blame the actor. I blame the prop. I think that's just like, it's one of those weird, like, you ever shoot a toy bow and arrow, like there's like you can only pull it back a certain amount, and I think this is meant to resemble the toy that is or will be out. And so I agree. But,
I think the way he pinched it is what I didn't like. If he got a full hand on it and pulled it back a little bit, fine. But he literally like pinched this enormous bow where I'm like, come on, man.
It bothered you more than me. But and I have fired a bow and arrow too, so I agree that it's wrong.
I currently have 3 bows in my garage with arrows. Haven't shot them in a while, but I still own them.
But do they have like lion heads and other weird plastic toy-etic things on them?
But they should.
They should.
If I'm not using them, I may as well make them look cool and unusable.
That's very true. So he says, Devin, I need a clear shot. And they're like, we're out of Morph-X. And then Cruz is like, well, let's do one. I forget what he calls it, but it's like a super punch.
It is a high power punch.
Okay. Did they use that like early in the season?
No.
Okay. Because I was like, was this an early? But I liked it. And I have on screen now, like there's like a boom and it's like a painting, like the end of Rocky or something.
Anime scene I have ever witnessed in all Power Rangers.
It was great, but it was odd. Like, I feel like that should have been the finishing blow of Evox or something. Like, it was really, really cool, but it was like too much for a punch from the Razor Zord onto an ally Zord that they're just trying to stop. So I'm torn because it looked great, but it just was inappropriate.
The context was awful.
Yes. But that works, and he shoots him, and he turns back into the lion, and then he kind of shakes for a while, and his eyes turn the right color, and they're like, oh, okay, good. And then we cut to Megan, and she's like, you did it. And then the captain's like, you all did it. Or commander. Is she captain or commander? I always forget. Commander. Yeah. So then, they cut to Mayor Evox, and he's like, he does this great face, which I have on the screen. He's like,
dude, he just walks out. It's so good.
But he walks out, but his face, like, he's unhappy. Here, I'm gonna give myself a one shot here. He's unhappy, and he's sort of like, he sees it happen, and then his face somehow goes like, Like it's like just the way it morphs. It reminds me of like old special effects where they'd have like air bladders and they'd be pumping them, and it's just like because it's just like I I don't know how he did that with his face. Like he ends up like it just looks so weird. Like I thought he was gonna go and then be like Evox. So good job, Mayor Actor. Good job.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah. So now that the Lion King X Beast Zord is under their control, now he can ride it normally, which is cool and makes sense. And that's like I thought that was pretty awesome. So he's like, I'm gonna ride this back to base. You guys finish up here. They're all getting circled by the Tronics, and then Blaze leaves to get his Zord to stop them, Devin from getting away. And Roxy's like, I'm gonna purple up now. I'm gonna take care of you guys. And then Nate's like, all right, it's morphin' time. I don't know if he said it before, but he said the heck out of it this time. And it's cool because then they all are like in a circle surrounded, and they just sort of like down up shot. So it was a lot of good camera work. All this civilian stuff was really, really good.
Agreed.
And then they morph up, and the only part I didn't love, and I didn't hate it, is that because Nate had the bow in his hand, as the Gold Ranger, he fires it, but he just sort of fires it at one of the Tronics that's like 3 feet away from him. It's like, either don't use it or have it be the finishing move or take out a ton of Tronics, but like, or if it's programmed, or have it reprogram the Tronic and now it's fighting on their side, like just something. But it was just like, yeah, it was weird. I didn't like that.
Yeah.
So now Blaze shows up with his Zord that's been rebuilt, and he makes the comment, "There's nothing you can destroy that Skrozzle can't rebuild," reinforcing the major theme of this episode that where would they be without Skrozzle?
Yeah. Oh, dude. Skrozzle, Nate, and Megan apparently and Ben and Betty are the technological phenoms of this entire world.
And multiple worlds, multiple dimensions. However, so he's firing lasers, and Devin's in the Red Racer Zord, almost out of Morphex. He's on the Lion. And they do this awesome thing where he comes out of the fire that he's being shot at, and the Lion Zord turns into a giant motorcycle.
Yeah.
That made me like it a lot more, because it's like, oh, so he's a lion, he's a robot, and he's a motorcycle. That
you
forgives.
Love triple changers.
I do, and I love that he's riding. Like riding the lion was cool, but I feel like something about riding the motorcycle is even more unique, because we've seen Zords ride other Zords, but like it makes him look just like a giant. Like I live in a world where I have a giant Pepsi Cola, and it's like he's normal size. Like, I don't know, I just really liked it, and it also forgives some of maybe the design stuff. Maybe those pedal-like things on his head are necessary for the 3 modes, so I start to forgive it. And, yeah, when he turned into the motorcycle, what it made me want is the Red Racer Zord and the Beast X Megazord in motorcycle mode, so I could put him on my shelf, like, on this huge motorcycle. I think that'd be awesome.
So here's what we learned.
Yes.
Good job, Hasbro. I was sold on the battle mode.
Right.
He was sold not only on the motorcycle mode, but on getting another Zord that he previously didn't want to go with the new Zord
well, not that
you're promoting in this episode.
Not that I didn't want, but that
he said he wouldn't buy it if you gave him $100. I heard him say it. It's definitely not false information that I'm spreading right now.
I feel like I didn't think that was true, but the way you said it was very convincing, so I guess
you can't post that clip on Instagram because you'll get that little thing that's like, here is fake news and here's why.
So then Nate says, no, Beast X King Powerbolt with the bow, and he does fire it at Roxy, who explodes, which is how it should have been used. But I'm like, you shot that at a Tronic earlier, and it wasn't that exciting. Like that's again my point of like, well, it's inconsistent.
I'm hoping that a behind the scenes thing was like, oh well, you guys got a regular fight, but this is like our big giant like finisher. I guess just use it in the background because it's better than
he could have just smacked someone with it, like Hawkeye style.
I know. He could have, but they didn't.
Yeah.
I'm assuming the thought was, when you guys morph, it shouldn't just disappear because that's inconsistent.
Right.
And then you shouldn't have to teleport it back when you've had it this whole time. So, like, I guess just
right. But he
it.
could have been holding it and shot with his gun or kicked, or he could have been holding it and smashed someone, or he could have fired and it had a big explosion and take out a bunch of Tronics.
I agree. They didn't go with it, and it's fine. Right. And it was an inconsistency, and I didn't love it, but it didn't bother me, I let it go.
Okay, the Red Racer Zord is on the motorcycle, and this is probably going to be the thumbnail I use. Like, it's just such an awesome shot. He flies up over the fire. He crashes into the Blazes Zord, but they didn't win the fight, and now it's completely out of Morphex. So then he switches to get into the Beast X, the Lion Zord, and I like the way that he's already in it, and it like connects through like his seat moves and everything, and he's like, "Oh, this is awesome." But again, in a weird, he transforms it to battle mode, and there's this dynamic background, and there's a burst of light, and then there's like a psh, 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 awesome, and it's like that is how you introduce a Hero Zord, but we've seen this mode already, so it's like I guess this is it in good mode. I get what they're going with, but I always just feel like I wish we hadn't seen this mode earlier in the episode because now this dramatic entrance is less dramatic.
I still think it was cool.
All right. And there's his head, and we are way over, so we're near the end. Oh, I do also love that he's fighting him, and Cruz is still in the red Zord, and he's just like, "Get him, Devin!"
He's just chilling, like, "Hey, I can't help."
And he does, and they're fighting, and then another thing that made me like the Lion Megazord is he has the Scepter Slash, and he powers it up, and he starts swinging it around, and he does the slash, and it destroys Blaze's Zord, and I loved it. It was so great. One of the best finishers of the entire show. Why?
Because it's not a sword. It's not a gun using a sword. It's just a scepter. It's just what it is.
I thought for a minute that because he's used it in the Racer Zord and he's used it in the Megazord, and so I was like, is he just gonna call the Cheetah Beast Blaster again, or worse, is there gonna be like a King X Beast Blaster? No, he used the scepter, he swung it, and that's what happened. So while it maybe wasn't the most dramatic point or best special effects ever, it was the best finisher because it made sense.
I agree.
And then Blaze is like, "Oh no, not again," implying that he and maybe the Zord will be back, and of course he at least will. So then we cut back to base, and we have Ravi setting up a joke where he's like, "What?" He's holding the dart. "What a nasty piece of work. We better dispose of this properly." And so of course we know it won't be disposed of properly. Starting with, he just sets it point up on the table, like this is the dart, dupe right there. Like he might not know how to dispose of it, and maybe he needs to leave it with Nate's stuff. But even I would have put it on its side so that someone doesn't accidentally stab themselves with it. So, Ravi generally good, but in the service of comedy here, not well.
This whole scene I despised, by the way.
Did you know the second he held it like this, I'm like, that is going to end up in steel. That's what I immediately thought.
Here's my thing.
Yeah.
This scene could have gone well. Or you couldn't have opened Pandora's box and not had it be a possibility, because if you execute it wrong, I will hate it with every fiber of my being, which I did for this entire scene.
Okay, well, I didn't hate it. So why don't you explain why you hated it?
So here's the thing. We've already determined that this malware-infused dart is powerful enough to infect in any part of the Zord, once it touches it, an entire Zord and take it over.
Yes.
So you're implying that when this falls into Steel's leg, that it only infects his legs and he's more powerful than their most powerful Zord because it doesn't infect him entirely.
Oh, I can explain that. You're
No,
forgetting. You're forgetting. He's part
Oh,
human.
he's part human.
He's part human, brother.
No. Get out. Get out.
We've established in the past that he has different.
Awful. No, get out.
No, you're wrong. You're wrong. I thought you were going to complain about the comedy in the scene or something else, which
all
I was
of
willing
it
to
was
listen
terrible. It was an awful scene. I want to forget it.
The fact that he's part human and he's sentient more than the Zords, whatever level they may or may not have, has been established and relied upon in previous episodes where he was immune or was able to resist certain things that a normal robot couldn't. He's always going on. He has Nate's DNA. He's part human. That gives him special abilities.
Question.
Yeah.
So when he got turned into Frankenstein in that episode, how do you explain that if he's part human?
That was magic.
Oh, okay.
Well, wait, didn't they? The Halloween episode you're talking about? They all got turned into stuff because they were human.
I realized that after I said it.
All right, thank you, Ninja Steel. Anyway.
I know. Didn't he get taken over independently in one episode? Or like brainwashed or something?
So was Nate. I mean, they've all gotten brainwashed. That doesn't mean he's not human.
All right. All I'm saying, if
he had the ability to fight back.
No, it should have infected him entirely. It was dumb.
Oh, I see. Oh, so what happened here is I made a better argument than you, and you've resorted to yelling.
No. For the brainwash and magic thing, fine. We'll call it a wash. But for this, he should have either been infected entirely or not at all.
All right, well,
not just his legs, and then detach him and have everybody chase him. That was stupid, and I hated it.
Before that happened, they did have a reconciliation moment with Megan. They actually hugged Nate and said, okay, thanks for coming back. We forgive you. She's going to be on the team now. I'm fine with all that. Thank you everyone for giving me a second chance. Second chance is redemption, all good and whatever. And then right after that is when Ben throws the dart towards the garbage can, hits Steel, which I think is fine, like in character for him. Steel gets hit. You hate it. He detaches his legs with like a mediocre special effect. Everyone flips out. You hate it. Steel, when the legs are kicking everything over, he goes, "Not on the table. Leave Nate's vials alone." You didn't like that line?
Steel can't do any wrong with lines he says.
Okay. And
but
then
the execution of this, I hated.
All right, they start running out the door. "Hey, where are you going?" And then Ben and Betty, great face acting right here. They're chasing the legs with Steel, his upper half, on the table. Get back here, naughty legs! So Steel throwing out some funny stuff, which you'll acknowledge is funny because he's Steel, even though you hate everything else.
Yep.
Putting aside your anger at how it shouldn't have infected just his legs. Let's say they established, maybe that happened to the Zord. It started from the bottom and worked its way up, so this would make sense. If that wasn't the problem, what would you think of this scene in terms of just comedy and action?
If they had something happen where
the exact same thing happened. The exact same thing happened. But when the initial Zord got hit, it slowly worked its ways up the legs and then was like, oh, it's getting to... So it made sense that he'd have time to detach his legs.
I would hate it significantly less.
But you would still hate it. Because I think this was a fine gag. It was one of the better gags.
I think it would be okay.
Putting aside your issue, which I don't have, I would give just this gag a B or a B+ in terms of what we see in the show. Rating it against other gags we've seen.
Mine would be closer to the C range.
All right, but because you hated it, it's like an F?
It's at least a D-.
At least a D-. All right, well, that's the end of the episode, and we're really way over time. So, final thoughts. Has your opinion of the episode gone up or down? Or the same?
Up in some. There's things that like I glaringly didn't like, but I understand I have a huge inherent bias, and it shouldn't like ruin the episode overall. Like the things I didn't like did not ruin the episode by any means. They just really bothered me.
Okay. So
like the bow thing bothered me. The leg thing at the end I really didn't like, but that didn't like mean like ruin the episode. Like it was just like it kind of annoyed me, but I think the Zord was cool. That was I liked that, and I liked that they changed the entire formula of how we see an episode.
Yes, I agree with that. The way the kind of the ending was sort of in the middle, and then they had the civilian fight.
Most of the fighting was unmorphed. Like everything was out of their normal convention, which made me like it more. I would put it at probably a B-.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to agree with that. I'll give it a B- too. I don't think I went up or down. I think I was around somewhere between a C+ and a B. I wasn't really sure. So, yeah, I'll go B-. That seems fair. One other thing I realized that will be a really quick indicator of if the King Lion Zord X Beast is original or not is I assume it's going to be in every episode from now on. It'll be part of their arsenal. If that's true, there is no way it's American only. There's no way they're like, we're going to create all this extra stuff for the entire season.
Yeah.
So if it disappears next episode, then you might be right. But there's no way.
Yeah, because like we haven't seen the claws in a while.
It's true. But we haven't seen a lot of more fighting either. So
well, here's the other thing. If we have 1 or 2 episodes left, we're not going to have an answer to that for a long time.
That's true. That's true. And the other thing is we know there's a big crossover coming up. And I'm doubtful it's going to be in the next 2 episodes.
I don't think it's in the big crossover.
No. But I'm just saying, we've been waiting to get to that big crossover since before season 1 aired. And now it's going to be even more waiting. But that is what it is. This is what it is. We're almost at an hour here. We're crazy time, Power Rangers. We cannot keep the time. But we love it. We love you. We don't like each other too much, but you know.
we tolerate enough to get the show to you guys weekly, sometimes multiple times a week if there's news or other things that we'd like to talk about. I have been the Big Dawg Defender.
I continue to be Gazbot.
And to the power.
What?
To the power?
Who? Me?
Really ruining this for me.
To the power!
See you guys later.
I'm glad I was able to do something for you.
Well, hopefully we don't ruin the credits by talking about it.
No, you're doing that right now.
What?
It's happening. You fool! You fell right into my infinite trap. But I have a screenshot of the Red Racer Sword on the motorcycle. That is definitely.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see how that toy turns out.
Yeah, me too. And